Church, Alyssa is playing the biggest game of chicken in Married at First Sight history because Mama clearly wants out of her marriage, but she refuses to be the first person to say, I quit. Because saying I quit would make her a bad person, and if you let her tell it, Mama is a good person. I got my notes, I hope y'all got yours. Let's get on into this damn mess. All right, y'all, so let's jump right on in. We're going to get into the hot topics of the episode, jump into some general couple updates, and then we'll be done. So in terms of the hot topics of the episode, in my opinion, there was really only one, which was the sit-down dinner with all of the couples. Now, normally, I'm not a fan of the public display of marital issues. I recognize that in this Married at First Sight experiment, each couple is sort of going through some iteration of the same experience, but sometimes I feel that when you have a problem with your partner, that it's best to just deal with that between the two of you instead of putting it out on Front Street for everyone's opinions and for everyone to weigh in. However, in this situation, I'm actually really glad that they put it out there because it was what everyone was speculating about in the first place, right? It's human nature to wonder about your friends and their relationships and how they are going, right? And so if you're only getting Chris's side and you're only getting Alyssa's side, you never get the full picture of what's actually going on here, right? So I think for the purposes of getting it all out there in the open and being able to view it and then move on, I think that it met its purpose, right? Because now that everything's out on Front Street, the couples can focus on their own relationships because they know what category and what box to put Chris and Alyssa in, and now they can move on with their lives. So I'm really proud of Olajuwon in this episode, y'all, because I think he showed a very large depth of perception of situations, right? When he said that Chris was basically putting his heart out on the table, and really just showing what love is in that scenario. I thought that was a very in tune perception of what the situation was, right? Because if you think about it, showing love or displaying love is really being selfless, being vulnerable, and putting yourself out there, not knowing whether or not those feelings will be reciprocated. It's already hard enough to put yourself out there when the feelings are mutual between you and someone else. It has to be completely heartbreaking to continually put yourself out there when you know that the feelings will probably not be reciprocated. So I thought that was a wonderful summation of events that Olajuwon did. And it really got me thinking about, his maturity and the fact that his speech is starting to resonate with his new way of thinking in terms of being not Isaac anymore, y'all. So listen, I got to give credit where credit is due, and I also have to talk about Lindsey in the situation because I really feel that she showed growth, right? Like, we can't always tear somebody down and not give them props for when they change behavior and when they try to do better, okay? And the fact that Lindsey stayed quiet despite all that BS that Alyssa was talking, I thought that was really wonderful of her, and it showed growth in the situation. So kudos, Lindsey, good for you. Now, let's just jump right into our couple updates since we're already talking about Alyssa and Chris. So let's talk about Alyssa and the lack of self-awareness. Y'all, I have never seen someone across the Married at First Sight experiment with such a lack of self-awareness, right? I don't know what planet she's living on that she feels that she's actually done her due diligence and put in everything that she could to this experiment to make it successful or to even get to an even playing field, right? The more and more I think about it, I think that Alyssa's definition of being there and trying to work through issues is simply being physically present, right? And I think that that's a very a very low way of thinking of relationships, that you can only be physically present and that will, it meets whatever definition you have of being there and trying to work through issues if I'm still physically there and open to the process. And the problem is that though you're physically there, you're not open to the process, right? And that's where it begins and that's where it ends. Now, sometimes I look back at the things that I say and I'm just like, am I being too hard on Alyssa? Am I not seeing, the growth, if there is any? Am I not seeing what she's doing? Am I not seeing that she's trying for her, right? Because people have different levels of trying, and my level of trying may not be the same as her level of trying, right? But I think, to me, what gave credence to the summation that I've had about her all along is when she sat down with Jasmina and Katina on the beach, right? And they just started talking about her experiences in the process. And I think they did exactly what friends are supposed to do in a situation. You're supposed to listen to your friend. You're supposed to let them get it all the way out. And then you're supposed to come with constructive opinions, constructive criticisms, and, the actual way that you see the situation, right? So I'm glad that they let her talk and they let her get it out. But listen, they clearly were in tune with the process, in that Katina was like, listen, you did not like this man from the beginning physically, right? And to me, that informed the way you moved with him from that point on, right? That was the beginning of it. You were not attracted to him physically. And then that sort of started the chain reaction for everything that happened later, right? And so between Jasmina and Katina talking there, you realize that, just like I've been saying, she's let the people peripheral to Chris form the be all and end all of her knowledge of him, of her summation of him, of the way that she thinks he is, and there's no changing that, right? And to me, you're definitely doing yourself a disservice by asking, there was a song, "Don't Ask My Neighbor, Ask Me," right? You can take what the people say, just like Katina said, take what they say, put it in your pocket, and leave it in the back of your mind for when situations come up that you can say, oh, okay, well, maybe this is what they were talking about. Maybe this is true about him, right? But you cannot get a whole picture of someone by talking to everyone else around them, right? Experience them for yourselves and then make your own summation from there. And I don't think she ever gave Chris a chance in that respect. She doesn't want to spend any time with him. Every single time that they interact, it's on camera, and it seems like a forced exchange, right? He wants to try to figure out the relationship behind closed doors. If that's her speed, she wants nothing to do with him outside of the camera. So what is he supposed to do other than bring up these issues on camera? Because that seems to be the only place where he can actually reach you, even though you walk off at each juncture. So I thought that was a really, really good scene, just to make sure that what we're seeing and what we're making our summary judgment on Alyssa is actually what's being delivered, right? All right, moving forward to Chris sticks up for himself regarding the apartment. Y'all, Chris has really, to me, gone through the whole levels of the grieving process, right? First, you're confused, you're bewildered, you don't know what to do, you're wondering if you did something wrong, you get angry in the situation. And I feel like he's made his way all the way to acceptance, right? This is what the situation is. This is all I can give in the situation, and I need to know, are you in or are you out? And I will inform my opinion based on that, right? So for Chris, I think that he's had some really, really good aha moments this episode in terms of coming to the realization that she's there for the experience and not the experiment, okay? And what that means is Alyssa would be completely happy going through the Married at First Sight experiment, sans the husband, okay? She wants to go to the, couple events, hang out with the other couples, get the advice from the experts, take all these nuggets in, but the husband to her is optional in the situation. And for Chris, he came there to get a wife. When he was at the table with the couples, he said, I love y'all, but I did not come here for you. I came here to find a wife. I came here to find my forever, right? And I think that they have two different outlooks on what the experience can be moving forward. And that's why I'm Team Chris on it, because if you don't want me at the core and all you want is the experience, then that's not what I signed up for, right? And in terms of him sticking up for himself, I'm just glad that he got to the point where he was like, listen, you're not going to ruin this whole thing for me. If you give 1%, I'm all in and I'm moving into the apartment. I think Alyssa thought that, you know, they were going to go back to Boston and Chris was going to go to his house and she was going to move into the apartment and she's going to interact with all the couples and have all the fun and do the, like, that's not what this is about. Okay. So Chris said, listen, I'm going to move into the apartment. You have a big decision to make as to whether you want to move in as well or if you want to go another route, okay? And in my thinking, y'all, correct me if I'm wrong, but they put the couples, each couple, in a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment, right? So the mere fact that you don't want to move into this apartment when you could theoretically have your own bedroom, your own bathroom, and you only have to share the common areas like the living room and the kitchen, to me speaks more that you don't like this man at all. And it does not matter whether you're in the same apartment building, the same city, the same planet. You're just not feeling him at all, right? In order to even share the same common areas with him, even though you'll have separate rooms. So good for Chris, okay? Stick up for yourself. And I'm glad that we see that he's not a pushover, right? Because you can only pine over someone for so long until you have the realization that this is not going to work out, this doesn't serve me, and I need to move forward. So good for Chris. And then just the third one here of is Alyssa all in or all out? And I spoke to this in the introduction, but it really comes to a head here because Alyssa is here for the experience and not the experiment. And Chris is like, listen, if you give me 1%, I'm all in, right? But I'm not going to keep on trying on a situation that seems unwinnable because you're not in it at all, right? And so the reason to me why she won't give him a definitive answer as to whether she's all in or all out is because she is there for the experience at this point, okay? She wants to move in the apartment. She wants to hang out with the other couples. She wants to go to the seminars. She wants to hang out with, you know, do all the different activities that they're going to go to, the trips, XYZ, all the knowledge that she will glean. That's what she's there for at this point. And if she makes a summary judgment at this point that she is all out, all of that ends and she can't experience the experiment anymore, okay? So in my opinion, she's just going to keep dragging this out as long as she can so that she can glean all that she can from this experience, right? So we'll see how it goes. But like I said before, it's the biggest game of chicken because she wants out, but she does not want to be the bad person. And she does not want to be the person that says, I quit first. Moving on, y'all, to Jasmina and Michael. The only note I wrote out for them is communication. And I think that that's where it begins and that's where it ends. Last time, you know, they had the whole argument regarding the way he communicates. And, you know, I said something to the effect of that, you know, because he was by himself for so long, he got into a rut of communicating, right? When you're by yourself for a long time, your way of communicating with people can become harsh because the only person that you're responsible for and communicating towards is yourself, right? But when you have another person that you have to be accountable for, that you have to be accountable to, you have to find a way to move forward with there. One of my favorite sayings is we teach people how to treat us, right? And I think that that's where they are right now. They're teaching each other how to treat each other, and that's going to be uncomfortable. Now, what I do like about the Jasmina and Michael exchange, though, is that even though they're going through problems, they are still fully and completely present to the process and the experiment, right? Jasmina is not going to let this one interaction that they had be the be all and end all of who Michael is as a person and the be all and end all summary judgment of his character. I'm still willing to move forward to figure out why we were matched, to delve more into our likes, our dislikes, how we can build a relationship together. And I won't let this be, you know, the thing that breaks us up completely, even though communication is very important. And at one point in time, we're going to have to come to a consensus about how to move forward from there. So good for them. Just work on your communication. I don't think personally that it's any sort of unwinnable situation here. I do have hope for them because I feel like they're both on the same page. They both communicate in a similar fashion, and that's probably why it's combative. I think the other thing, and I alluded to this in my last review, is that he comes from a very pessimistic side. She comes from a very optimistic side. So they communicate the same way. It's just that their leanings in terms of how they communicate that message are completely different. So communication is something that can be worked through, and I still have hope for this couple. Moving forward to Lindsey and Mark. So they worked through their fight, which I thought that they would. I told y'all last time, the fight was representative of Mark not eating his Wheaties and not realizing what he was actually trying to say in the conversation. It was a bait and switch. You brought her to a romantic dinner. You started talking about serious things and pulling back affection and moving on from there. It was a bait and switch, and that's what threw the whole situation out of whack, right? What you should have said was that I just needed to press pause on where we are, figure out where I am, and then we can move forward from there. So I'm glad that they had the opportunity to talk and to figure out a way to move forward. To me, that's what a relationship is. It's having disagreements, having arguments, figuring out a consensus. And you can agree to disagree, or you can agree that one person was right or the other person's right, but find a way to move forward out of the disappointments and interactions that you have that may not be the best, right? It's all a part of relationships and moving forward. Now, in terms of this landlord, mother figure, lease situation, y'all, I'm a little bit confused, right? Because although I do not have a law degree, I come from a family of lawyers, and I also have a lot of friends that are lawyers, and I've lived in apartments, I've had leases before. I can't figure if this whole landlord mother figure issue is the mother figure trying to sabotage Mark and Lindsey's relationship, or if she's just being difficult because something has happened in the building regarding the bed bugs and the infestation and stuff like that. But listen, my Judge Judy law courtroom experience, as well as my familial experience and my friend experience, tells me, y'all, that you cannot change someone's lease midstream unless it's more of an oral agreement type situation, or your lease is done, right? So I don't really understand how she can call him up one day and say, hey, your lease is changing and, no more cats. If you signed a document that basically stipulated how long you were going to live there, the property that you were at, the animals that you could have and stuff, the person who's the landlord can't change it midstream until that agreement has been satisfied, which means you come to the end of the lease term, or if you come to some sort of agreement together in order to create some sort of amendment to the lease. So I didn't understand that. And the mere fact that she's, he was all stressed out, she's calling, all times and nights and stuff, leads me to believe that because it's a mother figure type situation, this was more of an oral agreement, right? And that's the problem that I have sometimes with people in these oral agreements, okay? You will not know somebody until mad day, and also until they don't get their way, okay? And I think that's where we are in this relationship with the mother figure and Mark. So a little bit dicey for me. I don't really understand it, but just from my spirit of discernment, it seems to be more of an oral agreement than an actual physical contract, because I don't see how you can change something midstream. Now, I also don't know if she's sabotaging the relationship because their dynamics are going to change in terms of Lindsey coming in and the mother figure feeling like she's not going to be the number one woman in his life, or, someone that he can confide in, or she can confide in XYZ. I don't know that to be the case, but I'm really, really glad that Lindsey stepped up in a very supportive manner and basically said, I got you, okay? We may have only met 5 days ago, but you can move in with me, bring the cats, and we'll figure it out, and we'll move forward from there. So listen, it may not be the traditional sense, and in a different situation, aside from this experiment, we probably would not move in with somebody that we just met 5 days ago. But listen, the married at first sight situation is a whole different type of experiment, and you're going to move in with the person anyway. So listen, if she offered up her place, y'all are in a better place. She has cats as well, and y'all could be one big happy cat family. I don't see the problem. It seems to pretty much kill two birds with one stone. So I'm hopeful for the situation and that it will work out in their favor. I just really hope that it won't be the definition of their whole experience together, which seems to be too much too soon. Moving forward, y'all, to Katina and Olajuwon. I only have one note for them, and it is slow down and find a balance. I think this episode really goes back to that whole Jim experience where he was basically trying to pull out her more assertive side so that she didn't go with whatever he said, right? So when they were riding the horses and, you know, he's trying to pull her out of her comfort zone, pull the best out of her, I think it's the same thread there of him trying to pull out her more assertive side. I just hate that he continually feels that he has to keep doing these experiments on his wife. Now, I understand both sides of the situation, okay? He's a very alpha male. He likes doing experiences. You know, he's not going to let his partner's feelings on something keep him from having, you know, the actual experience in life, which I understand and I get. On her side, she's trying to pull herself out of her comfort zone and be a team player and try to experience these things with him to a certain extent while also battling her actual feelings on it. So I think the thing that works in this situation is that Katina is not a pushover, right? So you're only going to be able to push her to a certain point before she pushes back. I just hope that this is not indicative of how their relationship goes, where it's him always trying to continually push the envelope and her having to reel him back in, because that constant butting of heads may create some lingering issues going forward. So all I have to say, y'all, is slow down and try to find a middle, okay? You can't always be 0 or 60. You might have to slow it down to 30 or 35 in the situation and find a way to still have the experience while also not pulling someone completely out of their comfort zones that they've gone through, and that, you know, it's valuable things, because people have their limits and people have the things that cause them anxiety. You've only known this lady for 5 days, okay? You don't know what truly makes her tick, what truly makes her anxious, what truly makes her scared and upset. And so part of getting to know someone is the same thing with Jasmina and Michael. We teach people how to treat us, okay? So I think that Katina is going to have to be a little bit more assertive in teaching Olajuwon how to treat her, or else he's going to run all over her, which is not going to be a good situation for either of them. And last but not least, y'all, let's talk about Noi and Steve. And so I literally wrote down nothing but they're in a great place, okay? You all get the Dasher Award for least problematic couple in the episode. Clap, 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 pat yourselves on the back. To me, they're in a really, really great place right now. I didn't really see any sort of glaring issues. Although to me, that whole money issue and the freelancing thing is going to rear its ugly head, I'm sure, when they get back to the real world. But as for right now, in this moment, in this episode, I did not really see anything of concern. And I'm just glad that they're progressing and moving forward and are unproblematic, because I got enough problems with the other couples to sort out. And y'all, I think that's really all I wanted to say on this episode. So if you liked what I said, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on all social media at DatDamnDasher. And until next time, y'all, the honeymoon is over. Real life is about to start, and it's about to get very real up in here. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.